Are you trying to choose between a casting reel and a spinning reel? We're going to talk about that.
Welcome back to another episode of 5 Minute Fish Talk.
I just finished my coffee, but guess what? I've got things to discuss anyway, so it doesn't matter. I've got 5 minutes on time here, and you know what that means. Boop! It's time to get real. So we're talking about casting reels versus spinning reels. Now, I know most of you probably already know the major differences, but there's a lot of people out there that don't. They're trying to get into fishing, and they don't really know where to start. If you know someone like that, you can always share this episode with them. Just saying. Regardless, let's get right into it. You know, with thousands and thousands of different fishing lures on the market and so much different gear, obviously there's going to be different reels that are going to serve different needs. Now, that's exactly the point with casting reels versus spinning reels. Let me show you. This is a casting reel, as many of you know. That's what it looks like. Now, the perception that a lot of people have is that with a casting reel, it's going to backlash when you go out there and fish with it. I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's not as hard as people make it out to be. You got to make sure your settings are all proper, but once you do and you're using the right types of lures with it, you're going to be in pretty good shape. So don't feel like you're not going to be able to go out there and cast with it. It just takes a little bit of practice. I mean, I started fishing with one when I was like a teenager, so I figured it out. I'm sure you can too. The other thing is a spinning reel, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. It has that open line like that with the bail. And the main difference is that because there's so many different fishing lures on the market today, these are going to pair well with different types of fishing lures. So, for example, here we have two hooks. And as you can see, one has a higher gauge. See how it's thicker? This one's thinner. Now, obviously, as we've discussed in the past, a thicker gauge hook is going to need probably a little bit heavier line. A thinner wire hook is probably going to need a little bit thinner line. And so due to that, obviously line size is going to come into play. Now, I'm not saying that you can't put a certain type of line size on either one of these, but I'm going to tell you right now that a casting reel is going to handle much higher diameter lines better than a spinning reel, and then vice versa. Now, on the other flip side, obviously there's different weights involved. You might throw a swim bait that's a 1/4 ounce, or you might throw a Senko that's weightless. Now, because there's so many different weights of fishing lures on the market, all the way up to 1 and 2 and 3 ounces in some cases, you're going to want to make sure you're using different gear accordingly. Because a casting reel is a little bit more built for beef, as I'm going to go ahead and call it, it's built for beef. This tends to be the type of reel you want to use for heavier weights and heavier line. Now, when you do that, you're going to be able to cast it further and more accurately. In fact, accuracy with a casting reel for me is almost always higher than accuracy with a spinning reel. Now, a spinning reel on the other side is going to cast light line and light lures very, very effectively. Now, if you're just getting into it, what I'm going to tell you is that you can get away with either or for most things. I'm just saying when you start to get a little bit more technique specific, when you try to get a little bit more advanced with your gear, these are the key differences. So, regardless, those are the main things. Now, I know I didn't even get close to 5 minutes, but that's just the way it's going to be today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to comment below if you have any questions. Otherwise, you can always watch that video right there because I think it will help you out. And you know what I'm going to say next, right? Have yourself a fantastic weekend, and we'll catch you next time.